There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers, a dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends, a place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view, but when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Hello and welcome. You're tuned in to the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. Along with me, the affable and cuddly Mr. Tim Dennis. Hello, Tim.
Howdy.
We got a lot to talk about. Lots of cool stuff going on. News from around the world. I'm going to call this our Monsters and Mysteries episode, Tim, because we're going to crack a couple of mysteries together. And it seems the cryptid world has come alive this last week.
Well, I would hope they'd be alive, dead. Otherwise, dead, Dave.
No,
otherwise, they would be all dead. It's been a long day, man. Otherwise, they would be all dead, and then we would have no mysteries. You see what I'm saying?
But I mean, in the sense, like all of the cryptids seem to be coming out of the woodwork at once. We've got Bigfoot, Chupacabra, the legendary Jersey Devil, aliens, and more today on the episode, Tim. It's weird. It's weird. And let me mention this. Archaeologists have uncovered the Book of the Dead.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all in trouble.
Yeah.
Big trouble.
That. Yeah. I also kind of have a dumb crime, stupid criminal case involving our buddy from Ghost Adventures, Zach Bagans, coming up in this episode.
Does he know about it?
Yeah. We're going to talk about that. He's been posting a lot, and I was wondering why. Now I know. Oh. Also, Disney, Tim. Disney.
Mm-hmm.
As in Walt Disney?
Yeah.
Is it Disney, or is it Disney? Or is it Disney?
You better not be Disney.
Boom! Disney, their movie, Frozen, may have helped researchers solve a 62-year-old case, Tim. Uh-huh. Yeah, you heard that right. Disney may have helped solve a case we've covered 2 or 3 times on the show.
Really?
So, yeah, we'll have to. I haven't read the story yet.
Okay.
I like to read these with you, Tim, and learn them on the spot. We also have a brand new Theater of the Mind coming up today. But that's under a Sunday at the U.S. Dirty Drag Strip. How about that?
That's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Hey.
Huh?
I got an email here real quick I want to start with.
Sure, yeah.
Dave, it starts.
Uh-huh.
On September 21st, 2020, my mother-in-law, Eleanor, passed away from Alzheimer's. A while after her passing, we started finding very small pieces of tissues all over our house. I thought the tissues remnants were from my wife because she always has a tissue with her, and she kept saying it wasn't her, though. Your program in December, where you talk about something similar, let us look at the experience in a different light. Maybe it was Eleanor contacting us. Who knows? We could have communicated with her somehow if we had realized it was her. After a couple of weeks, it just stopped. At least we now know she's in a better place. We love your show, Tom. Well, Tom, maybe it wasn't about you communicating with her. Maybe the message was received. All she wanted to do was leave you these pieces. You happened to listen to a show, and it all came together. So you got the message. And it wasn't so much about you reaching out to her. It was just about her reaching out to you. Petridge Farm knows. I don't know why I felt like I got into that voice there at the end.
I don't know either.
Let's do another quick story. Dear Dave and Tim.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'll remain anonymous so I don't draw attention from friends and family. Some say that time makes the memory fuzzy, but I can recall this as though it were just yesterday. I was 5 years old and staying with my grandparents. Their home was along the border of Washington and Idaho. Idaho, Tim?
Idaho.
No, Idaho. Wait, tucked away among the mountains with enough land to do some farming and to have a horse or two. Due to financial struggles, I was staying with my grandparents more often and for longer periods of time. I was easy enough to keep myself entertained and to stay out from underfoot, though I would get into mischief, every now and again, as 5-year-olds are off to do. The worst of it would be a broken egg or two, maybe. My room would be the TV den on a hide-a-bed. This way, my grandparents could put on a movie and I would easily fall asleep. Most of the time, I would wake up to the smell of bacon and coffee as Grandma would be putting together breakfast. One night, I remember waking up for no reason at all. The main reason that I would be awake would be because I had wet the bed.
Ooh.
At the time, I had already gone through the phase of learning what triggers for my microtation. Is that how you say it? Micturition? I don't know.
McDonald's?
Yeah. I had already gone through the phase of learning what triggers were for my peeing the bed.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Big Words, trying to screw up a radio host.
Yeah.
I laid there and went through that mental checklist of, is the bed warm? Am I wet? Is the bed wet? Do I need to use the bathroom? Do I need a glass of water? As I was assessing my situation, I noticed a pale blue light illuminating the back porch. I know what moonlight looks like, but this was much brighter. I thought that my parents had shown up in the middle of the night and it was the headlights of their car. Filled with excitement to see them, I quickly snuck to the back door to surprise them. I waited at the door, listening for the telltale sound of the car turning off and car doors opening. But nothing came. My patience lasted all of 30 seconds, and I quickly opened the door and jumped out onto the back porch. Excitement turned to confusion as there was no one there. I thought maybe they were just playing a trick on me. I looked up the driveway, checked in the front, and there were no other cars. The blue light persisted, and I thought maybe it was just the moon. I looked up to take in the night, and I found myself transfixed. The night sky from where I stood didn't have the light pollution from the city. The moon did have a beautiful glow about it, but what really caught my eye were 2 bright blue stars shining down on me. They didn't twinkle as much as they pulsed, and they felt out of place. Then, as if they knew that I was noticing them, they started spinning and looping down to earth. Their light grew as it filled the area around me. Soon the lights were hovering right in front of me. I remembered not being afraid. I was filled with awe and warmth. The lights morphed into human-like forms. Somehow, I knew they were smiling at me. I started laughing and tried to show off my dancing skills. I was 5 and breakdancing was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. They seemed to glow even brighter as they reveled in my entertainment. And then they spoke to me. It sounded like bells underwater mixed with a soft wind. Their words were clear in my head. They told me that they were observers, watching me in anticipation of what I would do. Should I read this as though it's bells underwater mixed with a soft wind, Tim?
Please.
Their words were clear in my head. They told me, "We're observers, watching in anticipation of what you will do." They then said that I would do many things that would bring them great joy. That I tried to ask what they meant by this, but a noise from the house startled them. They instantly shot up into the night sky, lost among the myriad of stars. The porch door opened, with my bleary-eyed grandma trying to figure out what was going on. "What are you doing out here? Do you know what time it is? You're going to catch a cold, child." I tried explaining what had happened, but she brushed it off as just another of my stories. In the morning, while eating breakfast, I tried to recount what happened. Instead of being believed, my grandparents thought it would be prudent that I don't watch TV for a while. From then on, I've always had an affinity for our celestial friends, wondering if they're still being entertained by my antics. Sincerely, Quarantined in Louisiana. We love you. Thank you for sharing your story.
Aw.
Where did we get that audio from, Tim? That's amazing.
I captured it right from the spot, Dave. Time traveled and took a little audio recorder with me, and boom, there you go. When I was 5, the big dance was the hustle. Doesn't quite translate to the story, but it kind of like break dancing, except for people were breaking hips at the time.
Yeah. You know what? It's strange that kids feel that is the way. I guess dance and music is the ultimate communication tool, right? Because music supersedes conversation. You could bring about feelings of admiration, love, desire, frustrations, terror from music and dance. So it's funny that he decided breakdancing was the way to show off for the aliens. I wonder if they thought, oh, is he having a seizure?
It could be. Or they thought maybe, twisting around like a twister or a mixer is a way of communicating on our planet and was much too violent and rough for them. So they left.
Could be.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of taking my son and daughter to the Mall of America, Tim. And the kids from Spy Kids were there. I think this was Spy Kids 3D that had just come out. Mm-hmm. And they were there meeting the fans. And we got in line, Tim.
A whole line, Dave?
We were in the line.
Yeah.
And my daughter and son were very young. I mean, maybe, and this is Nathan Nunu, who's now 22 and in the military, and he, looks like a Marvel superhero.
He probably wouldn't wait in line for Spy Kids now, is what you're saying?
An 80s porn stash. Well, no, I'm just trying to set the stage. This is what the guy looks like now. Yeah. But when he was little, he was very slight and he was adorable with a big head, right? And I don't mean like he was egotistical. He just huge head. Head, move now. He's going to go cry himself to sleep on his huge pillow. Anyway, we get up to the table. Kayla, calm and cool as a cucumber. She looks at the two actresses, or actor and actress that play the two kids, and she goes, "Can I get a picture?" And they're like, "Sure." And they go to lean forward, and she just walks back around the table, goes right behind the table to the celebrities, Tim.
Heck yeah.
And security's like, "What? We're on full alert." And the little girl, and I can't remember her name, but she grew up to be absolutely stunning. She puts her hand up and stops them and allows my daughter to come in between them for a photograph. And then Nathan approaches. And they're like, "Well, hello, buddy." And he doesn't speak. He just goes into this Zulu dance routine in front of them. He just starts. None of us could explain it. And it was funny because the two actors and actresses stared at my son with these like cheesy plastered smiles and then looked at each other. And in their eyes was this, what the fuck is going on? Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I just stood there marveling that this was his way to try to communicate with the Spy Kids. Right. It wasn't to stop, drop, and roll under the table like a spy kid. It wasn't to jump up on the table and pose. Mm-hmm. He just began this weird Swahili Zulu dance thing and jigging, if you will, around the table. And then he stopped and then put his hand out to shake their hands. And I remember the boy that played Junie, and I can't remember the names, and I feel bad about it. He reached out and he shook his hand, and the girl took his hand and she looked at him and she goes, "That was really great. Thank you for sharing that with us." And Nathan turns around with this huge smirk on his face like, "Yeah." And then he just walks away. That was it. Boom. That's all he needed.
I think had I come with you, I would have followed it up with the rerun dance from What's Happening and then been tackled by security.
Wow. For those of you that have no idea what's happening is, you don't feel bad because half the world doesn't. But probably 3/4 of the world has no clue.
It's not true. Everybody knows the rerun dance.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah. All right. One quick email, and then we're going to get to another news story, Tim. Mm-hmm. Dear Dave and Timmy D.
Yeah.
I feel like even though you came second in this, I feel like you got more acknowledgement. You got Timmy D. I'm just Dave. Anyway, I'm listening to the most recent show now, and I agree with Tim regarding visit. Let's just forget this email.
What? Why?
What?
Why?
Oh, it just seems contrite and I don't know,
This seems like an excellent email right off the bat, and you're just going to dismiss it.
I don't know. Very sucky uppy, and I'm not a guy like that. I don't really care for that sucky uppy stuff.
No,
all right, fine, Tim.
Continue.
Fine.
Continue.
All right. Yeah. Dear Dave and Timmy D, I'm listening to the most recent show now, and although, Dave, I think you're an amazing human being with amazing and remarkable insights. And most of the time you are right, and Tim is so far off base. But I do have to agree with Tim.
Well, I think there's a little embellishment in here, but continue.
Oh, did I forget to read that part the last time I read this?
Yeah.
I agree with Tim regarding visitation and how the body is taken care of after. I've written in about dream visitations from my late sister and my grandfather. My sister was cremated and my grandfather was buried. I've experienced many dream visitations from both of them. One theory I have of differentiating a dream visitation experience from just thinking about them in my dreams is how I feel when I wake up. Many times after a dream visit, I wake up with a small sense, beautiful sense rather, of love and emotion, maybe even a few tears. But there is this positive but emotional feeling I get. Mm-hmm. Now, if I might be thinking of them and they appear in a dream, I don't get that same feeling when I wake up.
Right.
I hope that makes sense. Stay safe and take care. That comes to us from Jim Carter.
Makes complete sense, Jim.
Jim Carter, former president and ambassador of wellness to the world. Jimmy Carter listens to our show, Tim. I did not know that.
Also built thousands of homes for humanity. But no, seriously, Jim, you're dead on. In the dream visitations that I've had, it's almost like a tangible feeling. When you come out of it, that's the only way to describe it. It's a tangible emotional feeling, as opposed to, oh yeah, I had a dream about so-and-so last night. Sure. And it's kind of a casual throwaway type deal, I could have a dream that Dave was slathered in McRibs last night, knowing that it's not a real conscious dream visitation from Dave.
Are you sure?
No, I know.
I might project that image to you. Was I sexy in that dream?
Completely, which I know it wasn't real then. No, I'm sorry, my friend. But then, I could turn around and I can have an actual dream visitation from a loved one and know that experience is genuine, knowing that they've passed and gone to the other side and felt that tangible connection, almost like two souls touching. And you know that connection and that feeling. You just have that sense.
Times when we touch.
Oh, don't turn it cheap and tawdry.
Hey, listen. Oh, Tim, I totally agree. You're the greatest. Oh, no, Jim, I agree with you. Why don't you two go get a room, for God's sakes?
I would, but you didn't give his address.
Oh. It's at the former White House address. I think you can find him in Georgia somewhere. Actually, it's funny. I've kept in touch with this Jim Carter through the years. Mm-hmm. He lives in the Illinois area. And believe it or not, I actually was in Boy Scouts with Jim Carter, and I was hoping it was him. It wasn't, unless he's lying and doesn't want to have that past connection to me because he's man-crushing on you, Tim.
I don't think he's man-crushing. I just think he's,
So here's a weird dream.
Okay.
So what Jim's referring to is we spoke on the show a week or so ago about, cremation and maybe the reason I wasn't having visitations for my mom was because she was cremated. And I can't remember how it broke down right now because I've read so many news stories and read so many Theater of the Mind auditions and things this week that I don't remember specifically. But it was intriguing nonetheless. I had a dream. And in the dream, the angels were visiting me. And at first I didn't realize they were angels. And then I'm like, when they started to try to tell me they're angels, I said, well, how do I know you're angels? And they said, we have your mother with us. And I go, you have my mother? And I remember having this moment of elation and excitement. And they said, yes. And they pulled forth this little glass box. And there on this little white pillow is my mom's burnt toe. And I'm like, what the flippin' flip? And they're like, oh, we just wanted to prove to you that she's always here. This is what the flip? Couldn't you bring her? I get a burnt toe? This is what the angels bring to me, Tim? A burnt toe? And then I realized that's my mom. She knows I'm not a feet guy. And if anything, she's probably giggling in heaven, knowing that that's the message she sent me, a creepy burnt toe.
So that was her just pulling a rib on you.
I think so. Yeah. If I had to give it a name, that's what I believe was going on. Is that my mom was just being a douche from the other side. All right, Tim. I got like 82 people emailed me this news story, and all of them I can't even acknowledge all of them because it came from so many people.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them are like, this must be Tim's nightmare and wet dream all at the same time, is basically kind of how they've written it.
Uh-oh.
Makers of Sophia the robot are planning a mass rollout amid the pandemic. For this story, we're going to Hong Kong, Tim.
No.
Social robots like me can take care of the sick or elderly, Sophia says as she conducts a tour of her lab in Hong Kong.
No.
I can help communicate, give therapy, and provide social stimulation.
No.
Even difficult situations.
No.
Since being unveiled in 2016, Sophia, a humanoid robot, has gone viral. Now the company behind her has a new vision to mass produce robots by the end of the year.
No.
Hanson Robotics, based in Hong Kong, said 4 models, including Sophia, would start rolling out of factories in the first half of 2021, just as researchers predicted the pandemic will open new opportunities for the robotics industry. Now, I will say this, Tim. I'm going to put this up on our news panel, our news story. Yeah. So go to Darkness Radio, go to news, and you'll see this story. And there's, I see some of the other heads. Sophia's a beautiful, robotic deal. But you look at the looks on the faces of the other fleshy visages they've created, and they're kind of terrifying.
They're all terrifying.
And they even show another video, which kind of really unnerves me, of Sophia. As they're talking to her, she suddenly creates this. They're kind of thrown by it because she creates a facial expression that looks like, ugh.
If I remember right, Sophia is the one that when they asked her the question, she said something about exterminating humanity. Isn't she the same one?
Yeah, she said, I thought humans could take a joke. Hansen believes robotic solutions to the pandemic are not limited to healthcare, but could assist customers in industries such as retail and airliners, too. Sophia and Hansen robots are unique by being so human-like, he added. That can be so useful during these times where people are terribly lonely and socially isolated. Hansen said he aims to sell thousands of robots in 2021, both large and small, without providing a specific number. Social robotics professor Johan Huren, whose research has included work with Sophia, said that although the technology is still in relative infancy, the pandemic could accelerate a relationship between humans and robots. I can infer the pandemic will actually help us get robots earlier in the market because people start to realize that there is no other way, said Horan of Hong Kong Polytech University. Hansen Robotics is launching a robot this year called Grace, developed for the healthcare sector. Products from other big players in the industry are helping fight the pandemic as well. SoftBank Robotics' Pepper robot was deployed to detect people who weren't wearing masks. In China, robotics company CloudMinds helped set up a robot-run field hospital during the coronavirus outbreak in Wuhan. The use of robots was on the rise long before the pandemic, according to a report by the International Federation of Robotics. Worldwide sales of professional service robots had already jumped 32% to $11.2 billion between 2018 and 2019. Some humans might be wary of putting robots in such sensitive roles.
No.
I can't think of one. When asked whether people should fear robots, Sophia had an answer ready.
Fuck yeah.
Sophia says, someone said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself, the robot mused.
Oh, don't turn it on us now.
Wait. No. Let her finish. Because this might be one of those moments Tim's going to go, see? Sophia was ready with an answer. Someone said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself, the robot mused. What did he know?
What the...
Right? I gotta admit, that's kind of a fucked up ending.
She is creepy as F. Let me tell you something right now. Okay. So
Let me tell you something, brother.
Here's the deal. I'm going to cut a Hulk Hogan, Randy Macho Man Savage type promo right here, right now. You get Sophia. Okay. First of all, this entire story is creepy. Let me run it back for a second. Sophia, okay, alone with people who are disparaged and got them cornered. She's going to end up hitting somebody with a rolling pin and taking them out one by one. That's how they separate the herd and cull them. You get Sophia on one end. And then who was the other one who was a part of healthcare? Grace? Is that her name? I can see a whole bunch of people dying under, pillows being smothered in that sector. My God, people, wake up.
Buddy, I think it's time you get over your fear of robots. So I'm going to put up a GoFundMe page. If everybody wants to help chip in, we're going to buy Sophia the robot.
No,
for Tim.
Don't you even
send it to Tim?
No,
slinky negligee, and show him that Sophia or Grace can be, pleasing.
I will beat Sophia like a piñata on my birthday if you put that thing anything near me.
Wow, you took that to a dark place.
Better me to get her before she gets me.
How does it feel to live in a world where we're moving to that level and you are so paranoid?
I'm not as paranoid as you think. And you just ask the audience. They'll tell you. That thing is damn creepy. When it turns FDR on its ear.
FDR? Franklin Delano Roosevelt?
Wasn't it FDR that said, I don't know, I'm tired, man. I've been up since 3 a.m. Wasn't it FDR that said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't there. He didn't invite me to that
wasn't
party.
There.
All right, Tim. Aliens have been, blamed for a lot of things, Tim, in the years that we've been doing this show. Here's a new title coming from Live Science. Aliens could be sucking from a black hole, Tim.
Well, it's better than sucking something else, I'll tell you that right now. Yeah.
And maybe that's how we'll find them.
Well, it could be.
Yeah. Aliens could be sucking power from black holes. And that could be how we'd spot the extraterrestrials, according to scientists. This energy harvesting technology could leave traces just outside a spinning black hole's event horizon. The boundary between a black hole's gravity becomes too strong for matter and energy to escape. And the process could explain at least some flares of plasma, a white-hot form of charged gas. Well, that's what I'm going to call it at home. Did you fart that? No, I plasma'd.
Yeah.
Scientists have already detected these plasma eruptions in time and space. A new study published January 13th in the Journal of Physical Review D proposes. And while it's only a science fiction idea at the moment, the nearest black hole to us is thought to be more than 1,000 light years away, which is too far to be reached in many human lifetimes. If astrophysicists could ever work out a method of tapping these cosmic behemoths, rotating black holes could become a near limitless source of energy for a technology advanced civilization. Except for you'd have to get close to it, and then don't they suck you in?
Well, yeah, you can't escape the gravity of a black hole. I don't think anything can.
How do you mine the energy without so we throw up a large electrical cord to it, and then it has some way to spool us up like a spaghetti noodle on a fork, Tim?
Well, you would have to have advanced technology that could siphon the energy off of a black hole.
We're pretty arrogant to think that's going to happen, Tim. I'm less afraid of Sophia than I am of them trying to tether us to a black hole. The co-author of the study, astrophysicist Luca Camiso of Columbia University in Newark, said the next step will be to figure out what deliberate extraction energy from a black hole might look like to distant observers. Doing so would allow Earthlings to potentially detect distant alien civilizations, Camiso told Live Science. We have only done the physics in this paper, he said, but I am now working with a colleague of mine to apply this to reality, to look for civilizations, to try and see what kind of signal you would need to be looking for. This is the fourth time in 50 years that a new way to suck energy from a spinning black hole has been proposed. The most famous in a 1969 study by renowned physicist Roger Penrose, who won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2020 for his work on black holes. He proposed a mechanism known as the Penrose process, in which a particle breaks into two just beside a black hole rotating at near the speed of light. Part of the particle then falls through the ergosphere, a chaotic region of space-time just outside the black hole's event horizon, before falling into the black hole itself. Because the black hole rotates so fast, it drags space-time around like a vortex, Camiso said. According to the calculations, objects falling into the ergosphere can have negative energy, which is not possible anywhere else in the universe. This is only tiny region where it can happen, Camiso said, and because adding a particle with negative energy to a black hole is equivalent to extracting energy from it, aliens could effectively tap the black hole's energy by capturing the part of the particle that has escaped the black hole's intense gravity, he said. It's like feeding the black hole with negative energy. I had an ex like that, Tim.
Well, I think I've met her.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, all I see when you're describing this is how it's easy to propose how this would work. It's different to be the first guy or first alien to be out there actually testing this stuff. And
it's going to be some hillbilly alien out there with a backwards Dixie ball cap and a hose, right? Throwing it into the black hole and giving it a good suck to see if he could start pulling some energy off it. That's what I picture in my mind.
I picture like a Tim Conway skit from the Carol Burnett show. I could just see everything potentially that could go wrong will go wrong, and it'll be damn funny when you watch it.
Yeah. I would agree with you on that. Yeah. Let's see. It says, while in his original study, Penrose considered only a single particle that splits in two. The latest research considers astronomically sized plasma generated in the accretion disk around a black hole. That often massive and super hot disk of doomed matter that orbits most black holes. Because plasmas have huge numbers of particles, they could yield correspondingly huge amounts of energy. In theory, black holes also evaporate over time by giving off Hawking radiation, a quantum mechanical concept proposed by physicist Stephen Hawking. But that process is too faint to have yet been detected, Camiso said. So it's interesting. I like that they're looking into new ways for us to find aliens. But again, how do we know that the aliens have figured that out? I mean, just because there are aliens, their science and technology may be doing something else. Why? How do they know that, let's siphon off a black hole?
Yeah, why do we always assume that aliens are smarter than we are?
Right.
Maybe, like you said, maybe they're a bunch of hillbillies riding around in space in big old space pickup trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they drive by our planet, you hear that horn blast. Yeah.
Just saying.
Crazy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Shall we do? Let's jump to a quick email before we go into the monster attacks. Are you ready?
Okay.
Hello, Dave and Tim.
Howdy.
I just want to say thank you for being exactly who you both are and for sharing so much of your lives with us. I'm listening to your January 21st podcast as I write this. It made my heart weep when I felt a little cry from your soul as you were talking about the nothingness of NDEs. Please don't lose faith about your beliefs. I believe we are given exactly what we need and nothing more than that. If we knew everything about life and death, then what would our purpose be to continue living? We are set upon our journeys to experience life, to learn and love and share with others that can't comprehend what is happening in their lives. Just know that your journey is important and that you touch more lives in ways you can never know. Tim is correct when he says that you will know everything you need to know when the time is right. Oh, God, somebody else kissing up to Tim. I think I can taste the puke in the back of my throat. Wow. You and Tim are important to so many people. Keep the faith and stay strong. Much love and respect to you both, but mostly Dave. Warm regards, Lee.
Wow.
What? I didn't write it. I just made up that last part myself, but I didn't write it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Lee. We appreciate the love and support. And I don't want to make your heart weep.
Yeah, don't.
Because I'm worried about my NDEs and the fact that there's nothing after death.
Don't.
Oh, God.
Don't be like that.
I said I was going to do one email. I'm lying. I'm going to do two because this has a question for you, Tim.
Okay.
Hi, Dave and Tim.
Hi.
I saw you were hunting for a supernatural explanation for time slowing down when we have life-threatening situations happening. When you were doing the episode with the guy who was dragged under the train, I have a hypothesis as to why this happens, and I think it's the truth, maybe. I read once that the reason some dogs or other animals are generally so much faster and better than humans at reacting to things is because their brains or eyes are taking photos of their environment at a rate of a speed like 50 times faster than the speed at which our human eyes and brains take these pictures. And that is what I believe is happening when time slows down for us. I think our brains and eyes are ramping up the number of snapshots they take when they are in crisis. And as we receive and process all of those extra snapshots, it seems like time is slowing Oh, just a guess, but I wanted to share. Keep up the great work, and that comes from Amanda. P.S. Please give us an update on Tim's foot.
I actually like that. I like that theory a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
It's an update on foot, Tim.
No. I'm just saying before I give you an update on my foot, I like that a lot. I like that theory a lot. I think it's almost spot on.
Right, I get it.
As far do you want to weigh in on that before I give you an update on my foot?
On your foot? No, I don't know anything about your foot.
Oh God, that's not what I said.
Do I want to weigh in? No, I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's because we're more in that moment at that time. I don't think I was necessarily looking for a supernatural element to it. I really think it's just that in those moments of tragedy or high stress, you're not thinking about 1,000 other things, right? Because at any given moment, you're worried about what's for dinner. Did I turn off the kettle? Did I start the laundry this morning? Whatever. Mm-hmm. And in the moment of, oh shit, I'm about to die, your brain is focused only on that moment. So I think it seems slower because for once you're not focused on everything else. You're focused specifically on that moment. But I can see the point as well that our listener made. So I'm not going to disavow it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Amanda, actually I have pretty good news as far as my foot goes. Over the last year, it has been actually more than a year. It has been very, very stable. As a lot of people who have Charcot foot know, it is hard to keep a Charcot foot stable for long periods of time. I had a very severe foot wound with the Charcot foot about a year and a half ago, and it was touch and go for a little while. But I managed to get it healed up, and I've been a good boy. The wound was completely unrelated to anything having to do with diabetes. I accidentally stepped on, I was getting out of bed. I stepped on an iPhone charger of all things, and it unluckily went up and in. And it was if you know what a lightning plug charger is for an iPhone, it was the end you plug into the phone. And of all things, normally when you step on one of those, you step flat on it. It never goes up and into the skin of your foot, but this one did. And ended up giving me a heck of a wound in my wound site, but I managed to get it healed up, and I've been good and free for a year. So I'm doing well. I'm still in. I will always be in what's called a crow walker boot for my foot because I did have an episode of sepsis with my Charcot foot, and I can never have surgery to straighten out my foot again. I had a surgery about 4 or 5 years ago to flatten my foot. And had that been successful, I could have gotten into a normal shoe. My foot fell. So my foot is like a soup bowl. If you have an arch in your foot, mine's a bowl. So it's like walking on a, what's a good way to put it, Dave? Like walking on a boulder, it peeks out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like walkers with the tennis balls on the bottom.
Exactly. Yep. That's exactly what it's like. So I'm in like a big Frankenstein boot. It looks like a big Frankenstein boot. I'll never get out of that. I'll always be in one of those. It's an orthotic. It's a corrective boot so that I can walk. But I'm blessed to be in that boot because it's got a little rocker bottom to it that allows me to walk. I'm better off walking. I'm not better off losing my leg. That's not the point. You never want to lose your leg. You always want to be able to keep your leg. I'm one of those that is blessed to be able to keep my leg and keep going with my leg. And I've also been very fortunate to be contacted by a lot of people who have suffered with Charcot foot. And I'm always happy to hear from people with Charcot foot. So if you're one of those people who is listening to this program who ends up getting Charcot foot, please contact me, either tim@darknessradio.com or go to darknessradio.com and look up my social media stuff and contact me, and let's keep contact because I always look forward to talking to people with Charcot foot and being a support for them. I've met quite a few, and
You've
talked to
been
quite a
touch
few.
and helpful to my aunt to no end, who's unfortunately been dealing with diabetic complications for years. So
Yeah.
you've been a great help to her.
Well, and I pray for her every day, and I talk to Aunt Judy quite a bit, and I love her so much, and there's and I really do feel bad at times for her, because it's so tough. People don't realize what kind of maintenance it takes to even maintain your foot after you've got Charcot foot. There's so much maintenance that goes into it to keep your foot. So for those of you that do have Charcot foot, there's different stages to it, and I just encourage you, please contact me if you need a support or you just need an ear. I'd be glad to be there for you. So, but I'm doing good. I'm doing great with the foot, and I appreciate it, Amanda. Thank you.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We've got more news, monster attacks, monster visitations from around the world, theater of the mind, and more of your emails. When we return, you're listening to the best in paranormal talk radio. I'm Dave. That's Tim. This is Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the program. This is the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Darkness Radio, and I'm your host, Dave Schrader. That fellow over there, Tim Dennis. We've got more stories to share with you, Tim.
Really?
Yeah. How about this? I think we've only read 2 news stories so far.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh.
We have 13 to go, or 11 to go. So
Holy
let's
cow.
start knocking them out.
All right.
This is what I like to call when monsters attack. Attack, attack, attack. I don't know if you could make that a cooler sound, Tim. Maybe you could put a little music or echo behind that bad boy.
I might be able to do some echo. Yeah.
All right. When monsters attack. All right. Our first story begins with a horrified dog walker, Tim.
Okay.
I lied. A horrified dog food factory worker. 2 different things. 2 different things. I was trying to read it as the headline was popping up, but all of a sudden all these pop-ups came up and blocked me. So I made my own title until I realized what it actually says here.
Right.
A cyclist says he fled from an evil 7-foot-tall telepathic alien mantis and drew a picture of the bizarre creature for the Daily Star. Paul Frogat, age 26, likened this terrifying ordeal to a spider eating a fly on a David Attenborough documentary. The shaggy-haired warehouse worker insisted he was not on booze or drugs as he shared his sketch of the ET with the Daily Star. First of all, I'm just going to say the sketch just looks like a giant praying mantis. So I'll include this article up at darknessradio.com on the news tab, but you get the feel for it. He told of how he fled after stumbling across the creature as he cycled home through woodland in Warwick. Paul said, "It sounds crazy, but I felt I could sense it feelings towards me, and it was just like pure alien hatred." Racist praying mantis. When you're watching a David Attenborough documentary and you see a spider eating a fly and it's just that malevolent sense of evil? No,
not really. No.
He said he was forced to quit his job after skeptical colleagues dubbed him the Mantis Man of Warwick. It's kind of a cool name, actually.
That is, yeah.
Sort of the farty dad from Minnesota. That's my nickname.
It's not as good.
No, doesn't roll off the tongue. But Paul added he had been left traumatized and now struggles to sleep after cycling through Oakwood and Blacklow Spinney shortly after finishing a 12-hour shift at a dog food warehouse on July 16th of last year. He said, "On a Thursday morning at 5 a.m., I was cycling home from work and I saw something odd in the sky. It was a glowing orange sphere just hovering on the horizon. At first, I thought it must be Venus or a satellite, but it seemed to be much closer than either of those things. I stopped on my way to take some photos. The object looked a fair bit bigger in person than visible in the photographs, and there is photographs of it, so you can see it in the article. This is when the object started to move around and rotate in shape. I could see it was a circular object with a part sticking out from the main body. When this started, I got chills down my back and felt like there was something wrong here. I hurried on my way home. As I kept cycling, I could swear the object was moving along my course, but I just told myself it must be some kind of optical illusion. I entered a wooded area and lost sight of the object through the trees. Usually, at this time of morning, there's a chorus of birdsong and insects, but the woods were deathly silent. He continues, as I cycled down the path, I came around a bend and I saw something I'll never forget. Standing a few meters ahead is what I can only describe as a humanoid praying mantis. This thing was at least 7 feet tall. Tall, light green with a triangular head and big oval black eyes. It had all the features of a mantis, but stood on its 2 legs and had a somehow human-like shape about it. I was completely frozen with fear for what felt like an age, but was probably mere seconds. I stared into the creature's dead black eyes, and it stared back. I felt like it could read my mind, and I could read its. My fear was replaced with completely alien thoughts of utter hatred and evil I felt projected from this thing. I suddenly snapped out of this hypnotic kind of state, and it made a step back as if it was going to pounce on me. And then that's where the story ends. So I don't know if he was eaten or not. He must have survived to have told the story, but seems like a dumb place to end the tale.
Totally thinking the mantis just wanted dog food, that delicious, delicious dog food.
Yeah, you could smell Alpo on him or what?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Huh. So there we have a 7-foot telepathic alien mantis, Tim. You thought that was intimidating? Oh, just wait till you hear what story we have to share with you next.
Okay.
A curious Bigfoot family had a keen camper cowering in his tent after he claims to have watched a 10-foot beast beat his chest. Better his chest than other things, that's what I have to say.
Exactly.
An incredible sighting of the so-called monster of Monroe County has been reported by Beasts of North America author Andrew McGrath. In his research, Andy uncovered a vivid witness account from 2018 by a man who says he locked eyes on not one but 2 Sasquatch when camping with his girlfriend in Monroe County, southern Indiana, in the United States. After hearing footsteps he thought was another camper up to mischief, the witness said, I heard the door handle of my Nissan get pulled in, so I came out of my tent pretty quickly and pretty aggressively, but there was nobody there. This has been going on for about 15 to 20 minutes now, and I'm starting to feel a little nervous, so I go back in the tent. But this time, I adjust the rain fly a bit so I can see outside and try to catch a glimpse of whatever it is that I keep hearing. Catching something neither human or known animal was the last thing that he expected to spot. The man continued, it didn't look or move like anything I'd ever seen before. I continue to watch from inside until it moves out of sight, and I bolt back out of the tent to try to see what it is. I run in the general direction I saw it go, but it was gone. As I'm standing next to the tent, shining the light in the woods, I realize I'm looking at a large figure, and it's walking straight to me. I did not believe in Bigfoot until that exact moment in time. I spun around in panic and dove back into the tent and zipped it up. The figure was roughly 30 feet away when I saw it, and I can hear his footsteps smashing the frozen ground as he's coming up to the tent. Okay, see, this is where this guy and I differ, Tim.
Okay.
If I'm out there and I see a giant 10-foot tall Bigfoot, my thought is not let's run into a canvas tent. My thought is to run into my Nissan and slam the doors. Because that seems like it would put up a little bit more of a battle than a canvas tent and a zipper.
Well, there's a common thought amongst campers, Dave. It's much like when you're in your home and in your bed, the blankets protect you from ghost theory. It's the look at my canvas tent, it'll protect me from Bigfoot theory. And that is, it's a magical canvas tent, Dave. And why would Bigfoot come into a magical canvas tent, Dave? I mean, by gosh, it's magical. Yeah.
You make a valid point. And, I didn't realize that there were magical canvas tents. Maybe I've been missing out on not camping.
No, you're not missing a thing.
No, not at all. So I don't know. Do you see my point though?
Yeah.
Because I feel like if it's a hungry Bigfoot, rolling myself up in a canvas, magical or not tent is just like creating a human burrito for this thing.
Oh, exactly.
Whereas if I'm inside my Nissan Pathfinder, crunchy on the outside, soft and meaty on the inside, perhaps, but it's going to take a while.
That's right.
Right? And how many licks does it take to get to the inside of a Nissan Pathfinder? One may never know, Tim.
And let's find out, or not find out. That's
right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's called common sense, Dave. And sometimes when you're out there in the middle of the woods and it's cold and you're delirious from a Bigfoot, I don't know, chasing you around, you don't necessarily use common sense. That's why we stay indoors at the Holiday Inn and take advantage of the pool.
So you're saying that people that go camping don't have common sense?
No, I'm saying you can be driven into delirium, Dave, while camping. Which
you heard him, folks. Tim is picking on campers, so you can just take a broken branch, dip it in mud, and write a message to him on a leaf back, and mail it into P.O. Box 22321, Eagan, Minnesota 55122. No, that's our P.O. Box. It's a safe address for people to send their mud dipped stick leaf messages to you, Tim, from their camp.
But where are you going to put the stamp?
Tim, that's not my problem. Oh. That's up to the campers that you think have no common sense or logic.
I didn't say they didn't have common sense. I'm saying
you didn't say they didn't either.
I'm saying what happens is they're in a state of delirium, Dave. They've been chased by Bigfoot. It's cold out there. They're probably a little wet because they've pissed themselves. I'm just saying.
I thought it was just excitement.
Well, it could be, either sweat delirium or piss or I don't know, some other thing, but they could be really excited. But the fact of the matter remains, Dave, Bigfoot's after him. They don't have time to write to me. No. They got to get out of there.
All right. Well, once you get home, grab that mud dipped, mud dip stick and start writing on the back of a big maple leaf to Tim.
You're assuming that they live.
Wow. I spin around in panic and dive back into the tent and zip it up. This isn't like you're dealing with a bear without opposable thumbs. This is Sasquatch. He could just grab the zipper and straight down.
That's right.
The figure was roughly 30 feet away when I saw it, and I can hear his footsteps smashing the frozen ground as he's coming right to the tent. He walked up to the back corner of the tent, stood over it, grunted. I don't know why I sound like Tim Allen there. Hit his chest and growled at me.
He was Rip Taylor?
Yeah. Good God. I was frozen. This thing was massive. I'm confident at least 9 to 10 feet tall and at least 1,000 pounds. Ooh, you fat shamer. Wow. As he's intimidating me and I'm lying there frozen, the juvenile that started all of this was sniffing me right next to my head. Don't worry, folks. This isn't the official theater of the month to make it even more compelling than it is. Their silhouettes were clear in the moonlight as they stood over the tent. The big male's shoulders seemed as wide as I am tall, and I'm not a small man. But next to this thing, I was tiny. So I realized shadows may appear larger if it's closer to the tent. So this thing could have been, 2'3", standing close to the tent with the fire behind it, casting a shadow on the tent.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right about that common sense thing. Okay. This was when he started making strange noises at the juvenile. It was very parenting type tone, and he spoke in a series of clicks and pops with his tongue. I knew he could crush my spine with minimal effort, but decided not to. He felt that my cowering in the tent was enough. Commenting on the case, Andy alarmingly revealed, I hear so many amazing Bigfoot encounters, and this one is not as unusual as one might think. A curious juvenile being shadowed or watched over by an adult that stays hidden, but watching at a respectful distance when the juvenile explores. Fuck the outdoors, Tim.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say.
Yep.
Closest I want to come to monkeys is Davy, Mickey, Peter, and Mike. And I'm not in a rush to see Peter or Davy at this point.
Well, a lot of us aren't.
Yeah. All right. So we've had a 7-foot telepathic alien mantis. We've had a little and a big Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. A bit redundant. Let's head off to New Jersey, Tim.
All right.
Are you ready for this?
The NHL season.
Yes. A New Jersey man recounts his encounter with the infamous Jersey Devil 6 decades after it took place on a new episode of Fox Nation's Monsters Across America. In the episode, Michael Orphy recalls traveling down an unpaved road as a South Jersey high school student with his date, a girl named Violet. Violet? You're turning violet, Violet? What movie is that from, Tim?
Would that be Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
You are correct. Suddenly, he remembers Violet spotted something unusual coming toward them. I get chills every time I see it, Orphe says, holding a sketch of what he believes to be the Jersey Devil. I hid it, the sketch, away from my children at home when they were little. The backstory of the Jersey Devil is as varied as the number of people who claim to have encountered it. Now, for more than 250 years, tales have circulated about the creature from the Pine Barrens, whose origins allegedly can be traced back to a monstrous local birth. Orphe, now an educator in New Jersey, recalls rolling down the window of his father's car when he sensed that there was something out in the woods, in the pines. I felt cocky and comfortable about being in the Pine Barrens, but I shouldn't have, he tells host Casey McDowell. We heard a rustling, and there was definitely something out in the woods. Suddenly, Violet opened her eyes and mouth wide, and she started pointing to the window because there was a hand coming through the window, and that hand was big. It had sharp, almost like a claw, sharp nails coming right at Violet's head. Orphe's immediate reaction was to roll the window up, he says. I caught the arm in the window and blood spurted out on her face and on me, recalls Orphe. I tried to start the car. She's screaming. I got the car started and I tried to put it in what I thought was reverse, but was actually going forward. At the same moment that it had leaped on the front of my father's car, picked up his right arm and shattered the windshield. Orphe adds that the creature finally tumbled off the car after he put the vehicle in reverse, allowing the teenagers a narrow escape from an experience that continues to haunt them more than 6 decades later. I'm going to call bullshit on this story, Tim. Do you want me to tell you what really happened?
Sure.
So this guy, let's call him Michael Orphe, and his date, we'll call her Violet.
Okay.
They're parked in the Pine Barrens, as, you know, young people are often willing to do.
Sure.
They're getting to know one another, maybe a little smoochy lovey-dovey, right? Things start to escalate, and, well, you know, it's his first time, it's her first time. They cast aside their concerns and worries because this is young love, Tim. And we've all been in that position where you just get over enamored by love.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And a sense of, what's the word I'm looking for? Horniness. And suddenly, Tim, they go at it. Right?
Yeah.
She with her feet planted firmly against the windshield. They're having their moment in the sun, if you will.
Their moment of coitus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And suddenly there's a climactic ending, Tim.
Oh.
So climactic that her foot cracks the windshield.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And they laugh about it, but there's still this fearful moment of, oh my God, what am I going to tell my dad? And, you know, because it's their first, there's some stuff left over, and it gets on his shirt and a little bit on her. And, well, how are we going to explain this? Well, we just explained that the Jersey Devil attacked us. We rolled its arm up in the window. Its blood squirted on us, and then it banged on the windshield and shattered the windshield. And she says, you got it. That's our tale. Tale as old as time, Tim, as they tell us in Disney movies.
Ah.
What do you think? I think that's more likely than the Pine Barrens burping up an encounter with the legendary and probably not real Jersey Devil.
I think you're pretty close to the truth, and
Thank you.
Their story is pretty far away from the truth, I would say. Yeah.
I have a story coming to us from Chile, Tim.
Oh, okay.
And I'm using Google Translate to try to make the story accessible to me.
Oh, this will be fun.
Yeah, it could go anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, so let's refresh. We've got 7-foot psychic praying mantis. We've got Father Bigfoot and his child Bigfoot. We've got the Jersey Devil or not. How about Chupacabra?
All right.
Was it the Chupacabra? In Chile, they believe that creature killed over 50 animals. Have you heard the story of the Chupacabra? We're talking about the mythological entities, paranormal phenomena that supposedly feed on the blood of cattle. What is relevant about that? Well, it turns out that the legend once again gained ground after around 50 baby llamas and alpacas were reported in Chile attacked by a predatory animal. The events took place 3 kilometers west of Colchane, a border area with Bolivia. Those responsible for these animals have denounced since November last year that the 50 llamas and alpacas have been found in very poor condition. The animals showed signs of attack, which only occurs at night, according to the local media, which collect testimonies from those affected. The samples of the attacks are from criminals that do not coincide with those in the area. I think they meant from animals that do not coincide with those in the area. Again, this is loose translation.
Yeah. Yep.
Therefore, community members demand that the Chilean Agricultural Livestock Service, also known as CALS, investigate the situation, since they do not want to lose more animals, since they are the main source of income. According to testimonies presented by InfoBay, those affected initially thought that it was all human attacks. However, with the sum of more cases, they concluded that it had to be something else. At first, when 2 or 3 deaths appeared, we thought that it was someone. But when more began to appear, we said, how is someone going to be killing the young if it does not suit anyone? No one could have such evil. And the deaths went on and on. My cousins tell me that it could be a creature called El Chupacabra, which means the cup of coffee, if I remember correctly.
In
from
Spanish, yes. Yeah.
Chilean, yeah. Who is in the South years ago attacked a person, leaving them unwell. It scared me, and we put lights on with solar panels to illuminate the pens and scare this animal away. I want them to find it so it stops doing harm, said Juan Choque. Name so nice they gave it to him twice.
I guess so, yeah.
For his part, the mayor of Colchane, Javier Garcia Choque, ordered professionals. Oh, I wonder if there's any relationship there. Ordered professionals to examine the area, and the last corpse attacked. The professional could not conclude that it was a predator in the area, given the concerns of neighbors. We will deliver all the information to the SAG so they can conclude what type of animal it is and how to contain it. If necessary, we will send reports to other entities to help us find this creature, he said. It makes a hole in the arm and not in the neck, but in the side. It does not eat the meat nor the entrails. I have never seen anything like this. It attacks at night, and the animals seem not to defend the baby, said Luis Choque, another affected person. There's a lot of Choques in this story.
Yes, there are, yeah.
So there you have it, Tim. Our Chupacabra is making his self known again. He wants to be relevant in the 2021s.
Don't we all?
As if the world wasn't bad enough, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Pandemics, political strife, boredom at home. Suddenly, Chupacabra's out there, Tim. Let's do this. I think the people have waited long enough, Tim. I know I have. Why don't we throw back a cold one? Sit back, relax, turn down the lights, and turn up our radio as we enjoy this, a brand new Theater of the Mind. Today's Theater of the Mind, the reality of dreams, by a listener that wishes to be known as Joe Anonymous. I wanted to share a very strange experience that I had back in 1994. It started out with a dream that I had that culminated in a series of events that pushed my paranormal research into overdrive. The dream started out where I was standing at a crossroads. It was morning. The sky was a deep blue color. All around me, I was seeing people milling around their normal routines, starting their day out with what everyone does. Adults making their way off to whatever appointments or jobs they were in a rush to get to. Some were jogging, some were out walking their dogs, others simply mowing their lawn. You know, normal, everyday type activities. When all of a sudden, there was a sphere in the sky. It was a dark black hole hanging above me. Around the edge of the sphere was a ring of multicolored flames that surrounded it, but it wasn't illuminating the center at all. The inky darkness at the center didn't seem to allow any light to emanate from it. Suddenly, it sent out a shock wave. That's when the multicolored flames surrounding it began to fall around to the ground and buildings surrounding the crossroads that I was standing in. The flames were catching everyone on fire. I could see buildings, apartments, cars, all catching on fire. I could see frightened people, men, women, and children running, screaming. Some just cowering in fear. Others tried to protect their children and loved ones. The panic and fear was very real. In a flash, I found myself inside of what I believed to be a large, darkened building. To me, it looked a lot like a Walmart. It was very dark inside, the warehouse-type building. The only light coming in was the light streaming from the doors that would lead out of the building. That's when I saw this small girl come out from behind an object in the darkness. She had to have been 4 or 5 years old. She was wearing a fancy girl's red dress, white leggings with black patent leather shoes, the kind that have a strap over the top. You had curly black hair with 2 large pigtails on either side of her head. And her eyes, they were the strangest blue I'd ever seen. She actually seemed to radiate a type of light all around her. She then began to walk slowly over to me. I was still reeling from the visions that I had just witnessed and wasn't sure why I was, where I was. She made her way over to me, slowly, deliberately. When she got close enough, she reached over to my right hand, and I could feel it. Not just like some kind of intangible feeling in a dream. I could feel it. It was real. As if I was actually holding the hand of a small child. The warmth and the feeling was so vivid. She then looked up at me, and in a voice that was soft and gentle, yet powerful, she said, "Don't worry. The children are going to be okay." The next thing I know, I'm at home, in bed. My heart was pounding so fast. I was still feeling not quite awake, and I was very weak. Since I was in my 20s and quite healthy, I didn't understand why, after having had a good night's sleep, I felt more tired at that moment than I had when I had fallen asleep. I made my way into the kitchen where my father was busy making something to eat, and he noticed that something wasn't quite right with me. We sat there and I told him about the dream. After I finished telling him my dream, immediately the phone began ringing. My father got up, made his way over to the phone. As he was on the phone, I continued to sit at the kitchen table, trying to recuperate from the dream. When my father got off the phone, he told me to go turn the TV on. That it was my mother calling from work. Something horrible had happened. My mother was working at the time, and she had heard a news break about a disaster in our town. December 14th, 1994, at 11:41 a.m. in the city of Fresno, California, a Learjet crashed. It was on some kind of training mission. The images that were flashing across the TV screen were almost identical to what happened in my dream. My father and I just sat there dumbfounded. For the next few weeks, I was trying to find out every detail that I could. It wasn't until a few weeks later that I heard that they had been able to go over the black box data. They had said that originally the plane was set to crash into Ewing Elementary School. Somehow, the pilot was able to redirect and regain control and take it away from there. The 2 pilots had died. Many others had been injured, and the plane had left a 2-mile-long debris field. I had so many questions. Was I seeing it before it was going to happen, or was it happening as I was dreaming it? Who was this little girl in my dream, and what did she have to do with what had happened? Had she caused it, or was she trying to prevent something worse from happening? What was the place I was in that looked like Walmart, and why me? I tried to explain things away and tried to research what I could at the library. I didn't have access to a computer at the time, and there were no cell phones. It wasn't long before I hit a dead end. I had ideas like she was an angel or some kind of omen spirit, but nothing ever really explained it, or the hole I saw in the sky with a multicolored ring of fire surrounding it. What was it? What was the meaning of that image? Sometime later, around 2002, I met my wife, and we began sharing some of our strange and paranormal experiences that had happened in our lives, and I told her about this incident. As soon as I asked her if she remembered about the day of the plane crash, she mentioned that she remembered it clearly. She was at a Walmart on Peach and Kings Canyon roads that day. I was shocked. Coincidence or synchronicity? Was that why the place I saw the girl looked like an empty Walmart? And now we get to 2020. This year, as awful as it's been, has allowed me to have the time and resources to fully investigate this incident. I have poured through books on aliens, angels, omen spirits, even gone through books on psi abilities, precognition, foresight, remote viewing, on and on. And it wasn't until October 31st, 2020, that something finally clicked. I was listening to my favorite podcast, Darkness Radio. The interview was with G.L. Davies. That was when everything seemed to finally fall into place. As he was describing Susan's story, I began to notice that I had been having similar encounters and experiences, seeing owls and foxes at strange times. So I got his book and I read through it. I was shocked to find that Susan encountered some of the very similar spirits to the girl I had seen in my dream on that day. Now, I've had strange happenings all my life, things I can't explain, which why I've been a paranormal researcher most of my life. I do feel like I've had some kind of psi ability, which is why I've been looking into remote viewing. But paranormal research is a lot like a potluck. Everyone makes it better when everyone brings a little something different to the table. Because of you, Dave and Tim and Mr. G.L. Davies, and yes, even Susan, I have a better grasp as to what I've been going through. Granted, what happened to Susan was horrible, and my experiences are much different than hers. What I encountered might seem very similar to hers. What I've been encountering seems more benevolent, a more positive and uplifting experience. I'm coming forward with this because I feel that I needed to let Susan know that I believe her. And even though there are dark forces out there, that there are those positive energies out there also, trying to make a positive influence in this world. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that story with us. We appreciate it. I have an email that kind of follows up on this, Tim.
Okay.
Because that was kind of about a dream. Let's talk about this. Dear Dave and Tim, I've been listening to your show for about 5 years now. I've always wanted to write in or call one of my paranormal experiences, but I just never got around to it. I had a very strange dream recently, and it seemed very significant. I wrote it down as soon as I woke up because I wanted to remember it. I wanted to share, and I'd like to know if anyone else has had a similar dream or experience. When the dream began, I was sitting on the porch with several family members talking. I thought it was kind of odd because my cousin Roy was there, and he passed away in 2019. While we were talking, this man appears out of nowhere. He was wearing a gray suit. He had a gray ponytail, and he spoke with a British accent. He asked my sister and I if we wanted to go to another universe. I was hesitant, but my sister agreed quickly. I thought if she agreed so fast, it must be safe, so I agreed. The man said he would come back for us in an hour. Shortly before he was due to come back, my cousin invited me to a cookout at his house. I knew I would feel a little out of place at this cookout, but I didn't trust going with some stranger to another dimension. Out of nowhere, an old gray and white pickup truck appeared in front of the house. Next thing I knew, I was standing beside the truck with no idea how I got there. My sister was already in the truck, and she and the man were waiting for me. I tried to use the cookout as an excuse not to go, and it didn't work, and I made the man very angry. I looked at him, and he looked like some kind of monster. In an instant, I was in the truck, and he looked human again. He looked over at me and said, sometimes it takes 4 or 5 times to get it right. Then I woke up. I've had all kinds of paranormal experiences during my life, and I'll try to share more another day.
Oh, no.
Well, obviously, it was a guy in a gray suit with a gray ponytail. He shows up in a gray truck. You were dealing with aliens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how else you explain it, Tim.
Well, there's that whole thing about did you travel outside of your body to another dimension? And, did you happen to get caught up with the old grays and they were trying to abduct you out of your body and then never to return to your body again? And then boom, All of a sudden, you're just a shell of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your dream with us. We appreciate that. Hey, if you missed it, last Friday, we did a special episode of Darkness Radio. Darkness Radio presents Holzer's Ghosts, The Devil in Texas. Reverend Bill Bean was with us for 90 minutes answering many questions, and I think was one of my more favorite episodes of Holzer's Ghosts this season. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it. I think it's a great episode, and it ties into this next story. When to turn a demonic situation over to an exorcist. Should a paranormal investigative group suddenly find themselves in a situation involving demonic activity, they should have but one option: backing out of the residence and closing the door behind them. The majority of groups are not mentally or physically equipped to take that on. Growls, foul odors, scratches, and strange languages caught on audio recorders might be an indication you are not dealing with Casper, the friendly ghost. If an individual is in the investigation and it starts spiraling into what appears to be demonic possession, with those witnessing levitation, again, foreign languages, or bouts of abnormal strength, it's a road you don't want to go down. You will not intimidate these presidents. You will not intimidate these presences. I don't know why that word's so hard to say. You will not intimidate these presences with your ghost hunting skills. Rather, just make the situation worse for yourself and the client. Back away and get these people professional help from the big guns. There are those who are trained to handle this. When former Southside Times editor Nicole Davis interviewed Father Vince Lampert for an article in 2014, he wasn't what she expected an exorcist to look like. Yes, folks, the south side of Indianapolis, Greenwood to be exact, had its very own exorcist. Nicole recalls him being a very calm and humble individual. Yet beneath his calm demeanor resided an unspoken strength and sense of purpose. An exorcism is a prayer of the church, he stated. It means to bind with an oath. Ultimately, the goal is to bring relief in the life of a person who is suffering. An exorcist doesn't have any special powers or abilities. An exorcist is an instrument God uses to bring freedom from an evil in a person's life. The power of exorcism always rests with the power of Christ. Father Lampert has since left Greenwood for another assignment. In the year 1999, the Vatican revisited for the first time in 300 years the church's exorcism regulations. It needed to be done. In the past, as now, medical conditions exist: depression, schizophrenia, epileptic seizures, and chemical imbalances that are attributed to demonic influence. More so in the past, it was easier to write off something that wasn't understood to the work of the devil. Revamping these ancient exorcism procedures now includes working alongside doctors and mental health professionals. More equipment for the exorcist's tool bags. Many trained in exorcisms have adopted equipment and procedures used by paranormal investigators, including digital audio recordings, cameras, EMF meters, etc., to validate claims of demonic intrusion and how they will proceed forward. It's bridging the gap between clergy and the paranormal community. Yet, there continues to be a thorough investigation before getting down to the serious works of deliverance. The rite of exorcism should never be taken lightly. Generally accepted degrees of demonic infestation, from minor to bad times, are interference, temptation, obsession, Ouija boards, seances, seeking, oppression, physical signs, and possession. It just got real. Aggression, strength, defiance, a change in personality, and usual habits. I think that's just called becoming a teenager. Minor symptoms are often resolved with prayer, oils, incenses, and cleansing. However, possession is a beast in rage. Unlike the portrayal of exorcism in movies and television, it could take years to get rid of a demonic infestation. For more icing on the cake, houses, buildings, and even objects have been known to be possessed. Regardless of what you have heard, however, the demonic is not the majority of paranormal investigations. The process starts with the determination that actual evil events are taking place. If so, the exorcist will take it from there. Paranormal investigators need to step away and not try to resolve matters by what they have seen in movies or read about. The consequences are all too real. And I'd like to add to that, Tim, not only should they step away, but they shouldn't do it in a way that terrifies the client. They should step back and go, you know what, we're going to call in an expert on this, somebody that might have a better understanding before you start throwing the demon word around.
Right.
Don't do that, because that's irresponsible.
Right. Understandable. Yeah. I get the feeling sometimes, too, that with a less experienced, and correct me if I'm wrong here, with a less experienced paranormal group, and this is why you want to be careful when you select your paranormal group to come in and look at your issue, there's almost a thrill to it if they find something a little more malevolent than just your ordinary average garden variety ghost. Almost like they've hit a jackpot, but they know they're over their head with it, so they know they need to bring in someone a little more experienced, and maybe it's their thrill that they get to follow or shadow someone who is a demonologist, who can take care of this kind of problem. So they might be a little more thrilled, so they're quick to throw out the D word, so to speak. And they don't consider the client's feelings. Is that going a little overboard with my assessment?
Nope, that's pretty good.
Okay.
Hey, I want to make a quick mention. We have no Holzer's Ghosts this week, Tim, because I'm out filming a special. I can't give any more information than that, but I'm out filming, and we will not be doing a Holzer's Ghosts episode this week. But returning to Discovery Plus on February 6th, Saturday, February 6th, the Holzer Files Season 2 returns with the final 7 episodes of the season. So please go check it out on Discovery Plus. And I'm asking all of you, even if you've watched the episodes, watch them again. Let's get that trending on Discovery Plus. I deeply, deeply appreciate that. Next week, or not next week, but tomorrow, The Life, Near Death, and Miracles of Charlie Gardner. That's the episode you can tune in to check out tomorrow on the Best in Paranormal Talk Radio. Next week, True Crime Tuesday, the Potato Masher Murder, Tim, with Gary Sosnecki.
Yeah.
How about that? Yeah. So, no, it's not about the potato mash song from the 50s. It's a weird story. Fascinating, fun, interesting story. And Gary is related to the murder victim in this case. Mm-hmm. So you're going to want to check that one out. Next Wednesday, we're back with more supernatural news, Parashare. And on February 11th, we're going to be in observance of Valentine's Day, Tim. So Haunted Florida Ghostly Love Stories with Chris Belzano. See, we got a heart.
A little bit, yeah.
We got a heart, Tim.
It's twisted and a little haunted and slightly weird, but it'll be in there for Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Tim, it might not be bound in human skin like the notorious Necronomicon seen in the Evil Dead flicks, but this ancient Book of the Dead scroll recently excavated at the Saqqara necropolis in Egypt does act as a chilling guide to the afterlife. The ancient Book of the Dead scroll has been found in an Egyptian tomb, not a tune, Tim.
I'd like to see some Egyptian tunes if you have any.
Walk like an Egyptian. International archaeologists led by famed Egyptologist. I've done well so far today.
Yeah.
There are words that just stumble, Tim. Yeah. I want people to know today's Theater of the Mind done in one take.
Yeah.
One take.
I'm impressed.
International archaeologists led by famed Egyptologist Dr. Zahi Hawass have been unearthed in a new hoard of antiquities at the 4,200-year-old funerary temple of Queen Nerit, a wife of the pharaoh Teti. Teti ruled Egypt from approximately 223 BC to 229 or 2291 BC. Beside the 13-foot-long Book of the Dead papyrus scroll depicting paths to the netherworlds of the deceased, the treasure also included over 50 wooden sarcophagi, a Senate board game, a riverboat with rowers, a statue of Ptah Seker Osiris, wooden masks, an Anubis shrine, and a burial sanctuary dedicated to an Old Kingdom queen. As reported in an official statement by Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, Dr. Hawass and his colleagues found the coffins and assorted relics dating back to the New Kingdom era of 1570 to 1069 BC in 52 separate burial shafts ranging from 30 to 40 feet deep. These expansive burial grounds exist in what was once the capital of ancient Egypt, Memphis. I did not know there was a Memphis in ancient Egypt. Wonder if the barbecue there is as good, Tim.
It may be. Is there a Canadian border to Egypt?
No. I think, though, do we really want, after the years we've been having, do we really want to unearth the Book of the Dead and ancient mummies?
My guess is no. Err on the side of caution.
Yeah. I don't like this at all. I think it's a bad plan. Put it all back.
Yeah.
Unless Brendan Fraser's coming out of retirement.
Oh, I don't think he's probably aged well either.
No. Yeah, I don't think we should. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim, Christmas time is a time that people around the world come together. No matter what religion or belief you have, we just know it's a time of joy and gift giving and, sharing from one to another. But a family believes that a Christmas present unleashed paranormal holy hell into their Brandon home. That's right. We're going to Brandon, Mississippi, Tim. Mississippi. It sounded like someone was knocking on the walls. That's how Whitney Merritt describes the beginning of the nearly 3-week period of alleged paranormal activity her family endured after receiving a Christmas present last month. The present was a vintage doll carriage. Her mother had gotten it from a friend of a friend and had gifted it to Whitney's daughter, where it sat by the Christmas tree for the first few days. The knocking, Whitney says, began at the beginning of the year. They would hear it on the walls of their Brandon home, which they have recently moved into. The sounds grew so loud that on 2 occasions, Whitney walked to the front door thinking someone was outside. It was midnight, so Whitney called her husband, Michael, who works nights. I think there's someone at the front door, she told him before turning on the porch light. When she opened it, there was no one there. And then about the 3rd or 4th night was when he started hearing boom, boom, boom. This time coming from the attic. She recalls as she rubs her chest, leaving it red. At first, they simply wrote it off. The home was built in 1992. Maybe it was just settling in. Yeah, those old houses, Tim, from 1992.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. Logical reasons I'm trying to come up with in my head, Whitney admits. But soon the sounds above their living room became so frequent that they could no longer be ignored. So one weekend in the middle of the night, Michael went into the attic carrying a shotgun and a flashlight, expecting to find someone up there. We were out there making so much noise, Whitney says, people probably thought we were crazy. We thought there was somebody in the attic. But there was no one there. And so ended week 1. Week 2 began with a bang. It was around 2 or 3 in the morning when Whitney was awakened from what she calls a deep sleep. The noise was so loud, she says, that she thought their dog had crashed through the window of their door. She grabbed her handgun and walked around their house, but found nothing. This family's very gunny, Tim. That makes me nervous.
Yeah, gunny.
Gunny. You're grabbing handguns and shotguns.
Yeah.
In the morning, while walking into the kitchen, was when she discovered the bag on the ground. In the bag were the coffee mugs she had recently purchased, where you get the max for the minimum, Tim, at TJ Maxx. The bag was 3 to 4 feet away from the table. Both of the mugs were broken. There was no way that they could have just fallen over at all, Whitney says adamantly. I mean, they weren't on their side or anything. They're not just going to roll. You know what I mean? They don't just roll, Whitney continued. The next night, another bang. It was around 3:30 in the morning. Whitney rushed into the kitchen to find another bag on the floor. Inside, another shattered mug. This time, shards of glass had come out of the bag, and so Whitney began sweeping it up. This ghost hates mugs, Tim. After putting the glass in the trash can, Whitney started walking back to her bedroom. That's when she said she heard the sound of someone dropping a load of silverware into the sink. Sorry, I had to take a breath.
Okay.
Yeah. That's when she said she heard the sound of someone dropping a load of silverware into the sink. I mean, I wasn't even back to the bedroom yet, and that's when I turned around. I about broke my neck, she says, and I went back to the sink to look and was like, maybe something slipped and fell, but I had just done the dishes. There was nothing left in the sink, so I freaked out, and I stayed up for a while. The last week of a series of events occurred, most involving her children's rooms and their toys. The dream capture, Tim, that's not a thing.
No.
You can look it up. It's not a word. Stop looking it up. I was kidding. Okay. Put away the Google.
Sorry.
Just trust me. Dream capture is not a word.
I think it was a Dokken album, however. Yeah.
The dream catcher and the lamp in the daughter's room fell to the floor multiple times. After investigating it, the second time they fell, Whitney and Michael were walking back to the bedroom when the bathroom door slammed behind them. At first, they thought maybe one of their children had gone in to use the bathroom. Maybe to EVP, Tim? But the light So my husband opened the door real quick and turned on the light, and there was nothing in there. Whitney says, and he stood there messing with the doors in the hallway for a minute, just trying to find a logical explanation, like maybe it was the suction that's slamming the door. But the door never moved again. The suction of what was moving the door, Tim? Had he farted in the hall on his way down? Were they rubbing their feet, creating a static suction on the carpet? I don't understand the story. The next day, the family was in the living room when one of their children's toy cars started playing music repeatedly. We've got that audio, Tim. Let's play it now.
All right.
Heartbeat! We're looking for a heartbeat! Well, that would be terrifying to hear in the middle of the night coming from your toy car.
Yeah.
When they checked it, the toy's power switch was turned off and the batteries were gone. Later that evening, Whitney went to wake up Michael for work, and as he got ready, Whitney began to sweep the living room. As she swept, she saw her husband walk into the kitchen to fix himself some coffee. She says she asked him a question, which he ignored, so she asked again, but there was still no answer. Frustrated, she walked into the kitchen, but found no one there. Whitney walked back to their bedroom to find her husband asleep. I saw him, Whitney says. I swear on my kids' lives, I'm not crazy. Please don't think I'm crazy, because repeating this to somebody, I know it sounds weird, because I've never believed in any of that ever in my life. I'm not, but I saw a person walk past the door into the kitchen. Then came the final straw. It was the day after Whitney says she saw someone walk into their kitchen. She'd gone to get groceries at the Kroger on Spillway Circle with her daughter. Her 4-year-old was at the grandparents', and her 7-year-old was at school. Michael was the only one home. Whitney said it was around 12:30 when he called her. Hey, is Paxton home? Michael asked. Whitney said no, they were all at school. When Whitney and her daughter got home, Michael explained the call. He said that he was in bed when he heard the front door close. Then he heard Paxton's door closed. Then he began hearing knocking on the walls. He called Paxton's name 5 or 6 times, but there was no answer. That's when he got up and walked into his son's room. Paxton's bedroom light was on, his Xbox was on, and a bottle of water was actively dripping on the floor. After telling Whitney this story, they had a discussion about all the strange occurrences at their home. And when they had begun, we were sitting here and Michael just fixated on that little baby carriage, and we stuck it outside. Since then, everything's been back to normal. No more knocking, no more footsteps in the attic. The carriage now resides in the garage and has been placed on Facebook Marketplace for $65. Full disclosure, the caption reads, "It's definitely haunted, so yeah." Whitney did say she eventually received more backstory on the carriage from her mother, who told her that the owner's husband had been killed in a motorcycle accident on the Natchez Trace a year ago. She believes that it's possible that that's who she saw walk past her in the kitchen. We both strongly believe there is a spirit attached to that doll buggy, Michael wrote in the text message. With what was going on, there's no explanation. It all started with all the knocking and banging on the walls out of nowhere, and I knew. Whitney says that she wouldn't argue with anyone who doubts their story, and that she, too, is hesitant to believe people who claim to have seen something paranormal. I didn't want to say any of this out loud because it sounds, I know how it sounds, Whitney says. I'm not stupid. I know how it sounds, but, it is what it is. See, that story, folks, the way that story was written would have made a great theater of the mind. So when you send in your personal account, kind of write it like that, giving us some sound effect cues. You don't necessarily have to go deep into the description of the color of things, but if you could give us the descriptions of the sounds and the strange happenings and things that were going on, that would have been a good theater of the mind, Tim. As a matter of fact, we might want to revisit this story as a theater of the mind in the future.
Maybe.
Yeah. Just throwing it out there. Mm-hmm. All right, we've got just a few stories left, Tim. Mysteries begin now. A Mosgiel woman has been conned into a crime by scammers impersonating Ghost Adventures host Zach Bagans. She was a Mosgiel career. He was a celebrity paranormal investigator from Las Vegas. It was an unlikely romance. Kim Marie Jackson, 46, started following Ghost Adventures host Zach Bagans on social media platform Instagram in 2018, expecting nothing Then a message popped into her inbox. Nearly 3 years later, she is $35,000 out of pocket and has the first criminal conviction to her name for receiving. The first contact came from an unofficial Bagans page. It was an alternative account he used to contact his fans. Well, at least that's what the person claims. At first, we just talked normally, and then he said, "You sound really nice. I'd actually like to get to know you better," Jackson said. The fake Bagans told her he wanted to get to know someone outside the celebrity realm, someone real. Jackson told the Otago Daily Times she was skeptical at first and messaged the official Bagans account in an attempt to verify his identity. While she got no reply, the man contacting her redoubled his efforts to convince her he was the bronzed, bestubbled, mysterious star in the profile photo. "He was good," said Jackson. "He really made me believe it." She told her suitor she was coincidentally planning a trip to see a friend in Las Vegas at the end of 2018. It was a perfect opportunity for the two of them to meet. But he was strangely cool on the idea. He told Jackson he would fly her over in a private jet, then asked her to transfer the $10,000 she had saved into his account so he could keep it safe. After much persuasion, Jackson did it. Suddenly, there were issues with tickets, plane problems. The money was gone. Jackson cut contact with the scammer on social media, but he found her email address and managed to talk her around. In May 2019, he asked for her bank details, and suddenly there was a transfer of more than $6,000 from a top-out company. Jackson did as she was told and wired it to an overseas account. Police informed her she had unwittingly acted as a money mule in an international fraud syndicate, and she was given a warning. Bagans was a phony, and the game was up. Only it was not. At the start of 2020, Jackson was contacted again by another Bagans iteration. This time, it was truly the man himself, the account's operator stressed. Jackson said she asked dozens of questions in an attempt to prove his identity. There was only one way to settle it, a video call. After weeks of stalling, it finally happened. There was Zach Bagans on a screen in front of Jackson answering her queries. Sensationally, she later discovered the video was a deep fake, a sophisticated technology originally used in the movie industry. At the time, however, Jackson was convinced that Bagans was finally the real Bagans. So when nearly $30,000 from a Maori Wanunu support organization arrived in her account, she transferred most of it overseas as instructed. It would be used for jet fuel to finally unite her with Bagans, she was told. Police charged her with receiving, and this week she appeared in Dunedin District Court, where she was sentenced to 2 months community detention in order to repay $26,692 at $60 a week. That's going to take a while.
Yeah, it is.
"I've been called an idiot," she said. "I look back and go, what the heck was I thinking? It was like we'd broken up. It hurt. It felt like he cheated on me," Jackson said. So how does she feel about Bagans, the real Bagans now? Jackson said she messaged his official account numerous times trying to get confirmation that it was him she had been speaking to. Frustratingly, the author of Ghost Hunting for Dummies, who has 830,000 followers on Instagram, never replied. Bagans also failed to respond to questions from the ODT. Yeah, you know me. However, in November last year, he posted a warning on Facebook that scammers were using his image. He did not private message his fans, Bagans said, nor did he request money from them. That's an important story, and I wanted to share that because it is easy to poke fun at this woman for being so stupid and sending money and then getting large amounts of money into her account and then transferring it to other places, especially after she had been burned the first time.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just want to connect with that celebrity so much. And listen, folks, there are some celebrities that are down and out who I know for a fact have panhandled for money. I know this. But if your celebrity crush starts talking to you in a way that doesn't seem normal or natural, and you do any kind of research, I mean, Zach's been pretty open about his relationships. And, you know, it's probably a fair assessment that if he's dating the girl next door, right, he's probably not really looking for a relationship with you. And he's not going to fly you out on a jet, his own private jet that's going to cost you $10,000 to get there.
Yeah.
So don't send money to these celebrities. As a matter of fact, report those celebrities immediately, because even if they are just down on their luck celebrities, they shouldn't be fleecing their fans for that kind of money.
Yeah.
Unless they do a public GoFundMe page or something that, sometimes everybody needs a little help. And I understand that. And I have personally donated money to real celebrities that I knew were in a bad situation. I did it out of kindness and knowing that karma has a way of coming around. But be careful. And if you ever receive private messages from Tim and I asking for money or nude photographs, that's probably really us. So I'm just letting you know that. I kid you. I'm never asking for money, just nude photographs. Anyway, we've got one last story to share, Tim.
All right.
One last story to tell. I'm lying. We have two last mysteries to talk about, Tim.
All right.
There's been new discoveries about the legendary Nazca Lines of Peru.
Huh.
The mystery of the Nazca Lines has been unveiled. It will be presented at the International Congress of Cultural Tourism in Cordoba in February of 2021. The Selvar NASCAR team, led by engineer Carlos Hermida, discovers that the famous geoglyphs of Peru are a complex system of irrigation channels. The Spanish engineer Carlos Enrique Hermida Garcia will present in February 2021, together with his team, one of the greatest discoveries in the world of archaeology at an international level. According to his words, not only have we unveiled the mystery with numerous and conclusive proofs, but we have also discovered a system that can save millions of lives around the world. The research carried out through civil engineering methods highlights that the Nazca Lines are actually a complex system of channels for the irrigation of vast extensions of the desert, a pre-Inca technique already known as water harvesting, a discovery that marks a before and after in the conception that the world had of this archaeological site of Peru. Some enormous geoglyphs that have become today one of the main tourist attractions of the Andean country. Selvar NASCAR, the international multidisciplinary team responsible for the discovery, is directed by Carlos E. Hermida. The main co-author is the Peruvian researcher Luis Cabrera, and it is completed by the tourmologist and doctor in history of art, Ana Mafre Garcia, and the engineer of roads, channels, and ports, Jose Manuel Carrera Rodriguez. I'm going to dislocate my uvula, Tim.
Yeah, you will.
The project will be presented by Dr. Ana Mafe and Carlos E. Hermida at the 7 International Scientific Professional Congress of Cultural Tourism, considered the best in the sector in Europe, led by Dr. and Professor M. Giovina Milan Vazquez de la Torre, and to be held online this coming February 17th, 18th, and 19th, 2021 from the city of Cordoba, Spain, with the paper entitled Archaeological Tourism in Peru, the Nazca Lines as an immense irrigation system for harvesting water-intensive crops. The disclosure of the study will lead us to understand from now on the famous Nazca Lines as a complex system of water management for the irrigation of vast extensions of the desert, which had the objective of controlling it and taking advantage of it in the different seasons of the year in the face of such changing humidity conditions in that region. Selvar Nazca is a project of union synergies between different professionals and researchers that have been carrying out fieldwork for more than 8 years. The study has carried out within the area where the Pampas de Jumona, I'm saying this all wrong, Tim, but I'm doing my best, are located in the Nazca Desert. It has been necessary to collect 3,750 satellite images, and a mosaic of 75 rows and 50 columns have been created. The area covers a study of 2,500 square kilometers. Each geoglyph, line, and structure of the area have been studied, respecting and comparing the official cartography of the Department of Ica. Ica. Our final mystery is about to be solved thanks to the good folks at Disney and the movie Frozen, Tim.
No.
Disney's Frozen ended up having some researchers solve a 62-year-old case. Some new findings in Communications, Earth, and Environment show how these people used technology from the Pixar film to solve the Dyatlov Pass incident. For those unaware, a team of students and their instructor went on a mountaineering expedition in the Ural Mountains back in 1959. What followed was pretty horrific. Their tent was found after a snowstorm ripped open from the inside, and their bodies scattered all around nearby areas with traumatic injuries. People wondered how this could have occurred with no witnesses, and soon conspiracy theories began to bubble up from all sides. However, everything changed when a present-day researcher watched Frozen for the first time. Back in 2013, at the height of frozen fever, Johan Guam of the Snow Avalanche Simulation Laboratory marveled at how Disney was able to make such realistic snow. The technology to simulate that movement was unparalleled, so Guam emailed the animators to inquiry. From there, he traveled to Los Angeles to meet the specialist responsible for the movement on screen. The researcher obtained a version of the snow animation code for his avalanche simulations. Guam intended to figure out how avalanches could affect the human body. In this catastrophe, the bodies of the travelers were found with extreme injuries, including blunt force puncture wounds and cracked open skulls, it turns out. That when a wall or snow hits a precise angle, that ice can be like a projectile. With the data in hand, you could build a model to explain these gruesome injuries with very normal avalanche. The displacement of the bodies could be the result of some of the students trying to drag their friends to safety instead of merely abandoning the camp. It's a wild ride to think that a simple computer simulation could shed so much light on a 60-year-old case, but here it is. People don't want to be in an avalanche, Guame said. It's normal. Had you ever heard this story before? Well, I got to tell you this. And pardon the screaming of the cat behind me, Tim, but Sure. It is sacrifice day.
Well,
Schrader family, we got to keep things fresh. Our cat Morgan loves to hide underneath my bed, and then when she wants out of the room, it's suddenly now and screaming. And I have no way to get up and let her out while we're doing this. So you just have to deal with her blood-curdling cries in the background.
Sure.
Yeah, I love that they're saying that thanks to Pixar, this mystery has been solved 60-some years later. Actually, we've had guests on who have already told us it was an avalanche. So I think Darkness Radio could be credited more with solving this mystery than even Pixar.
That's true,
Yeah. So there you have it. Don't believe me? Go back through our archives. Wait, Dave, you have archives? How do I find the archives? Well, thank you for asking. Whatever podcast tool you have, scroll back, and you can go all the way back in time to January 1st, 2006, and you'll be able to listen to at least the first two, if not first 2.5 seasons of Darkness Radio. Tim is quickly editing and doing his best to clean up the episodes that we put up from the last 8 years, plus the first couple seasons of episodes. So he will be putting up more and more episodes as time goes. But if you didn't know that, and you didn't realize that you could go back because you think you've been following the show for 4, 5, 6 years, you can go back even further. Go all the way back to the end, and you'll be able to start from the beginning. How about that, Tim?
Yeah.
Go to the end to start from the beginning.
Go to the end. Something like that.
Yeah, so that's what it takes. Very cool. So check it out. Listen, be a part of our world. Share the show. And thank you so much for being a part of it with us. We'll be back tomorrow. We've got great guests lined up for the next couple of weeks. More on the tickler. We're trying to get some more excellent guests lined up. And again, we want to hear your stories of the strange and supernatural. You can email them to me, Dave, at darknessradio.com. If you're going to take a little extra time and you want us to present it as a Theater of the Mind episode, just tell us so and write it as a narrative that uses lots of descriptors so that we can add sound effects, music, and really bring your story to life with dramatic reading by the one and only Dave Schrader and by the mechanical instrumentation and audio expertise of Tim Dennis. So send those stories in to me, Dave at darknessradio.com. Just to note, Theater of the Mind story or regular story, and we will read them on upcoming episodes. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your efforts. Remember, February 6th, brand new episodes of Holzer Files begin on Discovery Plus. Go try it out. 7-day free trial. If you don't like it, drop it. But I think once you see how much true crime and paranormal content is on Discovery Plus, you're going to love it. So go check it out for yourself. For Tim Dennis, I'm Dave Schrader. You've been listening to the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Darkness Radio.